Misery loves company, and I've invited her to come and stay with me. We'll sit around all day and watch TV, and we complain when we've got nothing to eat. All I can see is mistress,
Lloyd Kaufman, this is really a rotten segment. This is a rotten segment. Those are rotten films. Let these guys go. It's an embarrassment.
There may be some anger repressed somewhere behind the persona, and I think if it's there, it's expressed through the persona.
There's a lot about Lloyd I don't understand, but the important thing about him is he is what I would call a really nice guy, a good man.
There were some gags that Lloyd wanted to do in the movie I fought and cried about, and I was like, no, this movie's about acceptance. We're not gonna joke about this, we're gonna make it cute and good and heartwarming. And
because the Cretans have raped me with the duck or shoved it in my mouth, I've become pregnant by the toxic waste.
But I think in back of his mind, he must also know that he's fighting an impossible fight.
How did you get Stan Lee and some of the other people to be in the movie?
It was funny when we went to go see Stan Lee. I had gotten Roger Corman, who for me is just a god. I mean, it's kind of the godfather of B movies. My students are more impressed with Stan Lee. I'm more impressed with Roger Corman. And I got in touch, and they said, yeah, you can have 45 minutes with Stan Lee. And then I got there, and as soon as I was there, they realized what a mistake this was. And I could hear in the next room, literally Stan Lee. I mean, he's got billions and can buy and sell all of those, so maybe I shouldn't talk any crap about him. But he's in the next room, basically, do I have to do this? Oh my God. And then we got put to a half hour, and then that got put to 20 minutes that we had with him. And I did not put it in the movie, but I have audio near the beginning of, right before that interview starts, there's this deep sigh, and you hear Stan Lee say, the things I do for Lloyd. Roger Corman, on the other hand, was the best interview that I ever had, because he's been directing movies for so long. So I would ask him a question. He would work the question into what he was saying, which is, if you're a documentary filmmaker, you know how important that is. And then if he didn't like his take, without looking at me or asking me, Roger Corman would stop. And be like, okay, let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. So the first time I met Lloyd, I didn't have to do anything. I think mostly I had a few interactions with Lloyd before. I'm someone whose favorite band is the Ramones, and that sounds like a non sequitur, but what that means to me is that band came out in the 70s and actually made everyone who saw them say, wait, I can do that. That is kind of what Lloyd Kaufman is, I mean, that's what I love about him, is that there's not this elitist idea of filmmaking. It's, you see a Troma movie and you think, I can do at least as good as that, and he has inspired so many people to make movies, and he helps people all of the time. I had friends years ago who wanted Lloyd so badly to be in their movie, and he couldn't fly out to do it, but he helped them on a scene. It was like, what if I'm an angry police chief and I'm chewing you out through the phone? So he sets up a camera, and Lloyd does this angry police chief thing back and forth in their film.
Yeah, Geoff was generous enough to include me on the project. Lloyd made a huge impression on me when I was a budding filmmaker. I was like 14. So I had a lot of the same stories that a lot of people on screen had.
Greetings from Tromaville. My name is Frankie Franz. My interest in this company began when I was in 8th grade, after I viewed a film entitled Cannibal the Musical. Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hurst, 2 Yale graduates, were responsible for the founding of Troma and the insanity that it unleashed upon the world.
And I heard hey, there's this guy who's making a documentary about Lloyd Kaufman. And I'm like, I should be doing that. And eventually we connected, and Geoff asked if I would act as a cinematographer to roll some of the BTS stuff during Nukem High. And the whole way to Niagara Falls, Geoff and I were just talking about art and I remember Geoff had a good quote about very few people get into filmmaking because they saw a Stanley Kubrick movie, because it's like, well, I can't do that. But I also, I have a relationship with Lloyd. My early films were distributed by him. The part in Geoff's movie when the guy's like, you're going to be in a movie of mine, and Lloyd's like, okay, I will. And it seems kind of like bullshit. It's not. Like, I put him in one of my movies, and he was like, I just emailed him, and he responded, and we put him in the movies.
I'm Frankie again, by the way.
Yeah, right.
We met in Troma Dance, yeah.
Right. That ever since the Who Monkey came here, Abbo, the Who Monkey, yes. Let's keep going. Don't laugh. Let's just keep it moving.
Lloyd himself always talks about the violence in his movie. It's cartoonish. Right. I mean, the things that happen in his movie are extremely... we are not looking at real violence. I mean, he certainly crosses some borders. I mean, we've had this conversation before, him and I'm like, I can't even watch your movies anymore. It's like, oh, it's okay, it happens. But
sort of like punk music, in a way.
Yeah.
Or anything that's sort of like intentionally extreme. Maybe that's what speaks to young teens and that sort of thing.
And I mean, I guess to bring back in, I mean, my background before I started making any movies was playing music and being in punk bands. And actually, the first time I met Lloyd was because he took over a show that my band was in to make it into a pre-party for his film. And I'd never met him before and just barged in. I remember, USA Up All Night used to play his movies at midnight, and, we would have sleepovers and go sneak out. And he's been employing, and I use the term employing loosely, but 18 to 22-year-olds forever, because they are part of that. In another life, this guy could have been Manson, and I'm glad he wasn't, in terms of just like getting the youth on his side that way.
Lloyd did another 100 movies and wanted me to work on it for free. I'd find my way down here or wherever it is, and I'd do it for free. I'd do it all. I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Thank you guys, amazing job.
Frankie and I both grew up watching Lloyd Kaufman movies. If you haven't seen him, he's an exploitation filmmaker. He's made things like The Toxic Avenger, The Classic Morecambe High, Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead.
He wrote a book, actually, called All I Need to Know About Filmmaking I Learned from The Toxic Avenger, and when I was that age, that was my little filmmaking Bible.
The clips you see of him shooting the latest installment of The Classic Morecambe High, that's when Frankie and I drove out to Niagara Falls, 8 hours from there, and spent a few days just kind of living on set, and that's when we got the narrative.
It's worth mentioning that on the trip to Niagara Falls that we shot, we also started developing another movie that Geoff wrote, I directed, and that was at Massachusets Independent Film Festival a few years ago too. And you might have even been in it.
Yes.
I think you might have been the female lead, if I remember correctly. So that was super cool. It was like we were intersecting creatively right at that moment when Geoff was directing his movie, and then we got to make a movie together. So it's like 2 movies for the price of one.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't make it official sweater.